So the first thing I noticed when I threw on this episode was the runtime. I was kind of shocked by it. I've been watching The Mandalorian, of course, as a huge Star Wars freak, and each episode had been very short, and the most recent one that was dropped earlier today was 41 minutes or 40. And I was like, oh, nice. Okay, it's a little longer. We're getting a little more. And then here I go and throw on Castle Rock, and this episode's only 35 minutes. And I'm like, man, one show gives and the other one takes. What the hell, man? So real short runtime on this one. I was really surprised when it came on, and it was like 35 minutes, and that's with the credits, the opening credits, the end credits, everything. Like, I want to say this episode's like 30 minutes long when it's all said and done. Like, actual, like, new footage. That shocked me when I threw it on. I was just like, oh, wow, this is a really, really short episode. That said, I still think it was a really solid episode. I don't like comparing things all that much, so I'm not going to be like, oh, well, it's a downturn for the show right now. It's inferior to the last or something. It's like, episodes are going to be better. It's going to move around, but the overall story is what we need to pay attention to here. So maybe it wasn't as good as last week's, and nothing's been as good as episode 5, I want to say, the Laughing Place episode. That episode was unbelievable. So I don't know. Sometimes they'll hit that high with episodes and they'll expect that next episode to keep rising and rising, and it's like, no, man, peaks and valleys. And shows can do that as long as the story stays consistent and it's driving it towards the ultimate goal and doing a good job of it. So I think this episode did that for sure, and I did enjoy it. So Annie and Joy are brought to the Marston place, which I would immediately, as Annie, be freaking out, seeing as how Ace is there, and this is the house she knows that he came back from. It's like, okay, what the hell is going on? Now, their options are limited. They're kind of under arrest at this point and being brought there against their will, so to speak. But Annie plays it cool. And overall, I mean, she does ultimately, kill a few people, grab her daughter, and get the fuck out of there. So she has her suspicions. So I guess it's just her hiding it pretty well, right? Annie's just like, okay, I shouldn't be here, but I'll play it cool for now. As cool as she can play it. She's nutty. Man, what an incredible performance. Like, seriously, I don't know if I've seen an interview with this chick, so I can't really speak on how different Lizzie Kaplan is, but I can assume that she's nothing like this character. And wow, it just really blows me away every time that she comes in. It is parts Kathy Bates, no doubt about it, but she absolutely makes it her own. And every episode, I'm just always stunned by her performance in this, just how nuts she is and how odd she is. She's such an awkward character. So anyway, and so the parade, like, essentially a parade's going on where they've hoisted up the statue. They're taking the statue down the street, and it's kind of unfair because anyone who looks out, which of course anyone who sees a large group of people walking are going to be like, what the hell's that? And they're going to look towards the front of like, what are these people walking towards? What are they following? What's going? And as soon as they can see even a glimpse of this statue, they're like in on it, like instantly. So I mean, if you live in that town, unless you were like asleep or indoors and just didn't hear anyone, but if you even like hear one little thing, you kind of peek out for half a second, boom, you're out of your house, you're in the row, you're in the line. Now, what are they doing with these people? That's the big question here. What ultimately is going to happen with all of these people? Because as far as I'm aware, all the souls of the original settlers, the original people from Amity's, uh, group, have bodies. They're back. So there's no more souls to take over. Is it just going to be like one mass suicide? Are they going to do like a Jonestown? I mean, are these people going to be under a spell permanently and, guard the town from outside influences? I mean, what's going to happen when an entire town drops dead all at once? I think that's going to bring a lot of attention to the town. An entire town can't disappear overnight, unknown to people. Like, it's going to be known. So what really could happen with all of these people? I mean, I guess if they made it look like a big tragedy, then that would take the focus off of, what happened, but what could be that tragedy? So are they going to remain under a spell? Like, where are they all heading to? Is like, I feel like they were just kind of heading down the street, gathering everybody in town. I feel like they should have been making noise, though, just to make sure everyone came out, banging on shit, doing whatever they could, firing guns, something that's going to people are, just a glimpse outside, just boom, little, like, what the hell's going on? It doesn't have to be much. They just have to see the statue. So if that was their purpose of marching down the street, but they do go to the Marston house. So they did have a direction. It wasn't like they were aimlessly wandering. So something is happening there. They've got that foundation where the bodies were buried, which would be pretty close to that spot. But yeah, what are they going to do with them? What's going to happen? I don't really, honestly, obviously I don't know, but I don't have a good guess on that. They're either going to kill them all, or they're going to remain possessed. Something. They all want to be there for Amity's resurrection, and then once she's resurrected, then she can talk to all of them and make them part of the group, part of their crew. I don't know. So I guess that's what would make sense, because I think this is supposed to be the day that Amity comes back, right? So for her to be there as the prophet, maybe she'll be able to turn them so that they'll be part of the group. I don't know. So anyway, moving on past that, but I just thought that the big horde of people, I'm like, what the hell are they going to do with them? There's no bodies left. There's no, souls left. So what are we doing here? Nadia has to choke out Chris because he decides, he comes in her house and he's going to kill her. And she, of course, is like, what the hell? And I like her reaction when she's running to the door and she grabs her and she's like, what the fuck? Like, do you imagine? Just someone, this is like her brother / lover, step brother, step cousin, whatever you want to call her. I guess brother. No, because I don't know, whatever but she grew up with him ultimately thinking he was like a brother, and now they got a relationship going on. And so, yeah, her having to deal with that and process that in that moment of like, what the hell? Now he's trying to kill me. Like, this is a guy that's been good to her whole life, is somebody who's in love with her, someone who she shares a family with and romantic ties as well. So imagine having that happen to you. It's just beyond imagination. Like, I couldn't imagine someone you love and trust that much just coming into your house and randomly trying to kill you, and then knocking them out and being like, okay, they must be having a psychotic break. I'm going to take them to the hospital. I'm a doctor. I can take care of this. And then she gets there and no one's there. And of course, that speaks to me because I love movies where no one's around. What the hell happened? We know what happened, but she doesn't. So we kind of get to live it through her. Like, where the hell is everybody? Why is my phone not working? Why are no phones working? Why is the electricity down? Like, what the hell is going on? And then, he wakes up after being dosed with Haldol, and this, of course, purges out the spirit for a short amount of time, which then, of course, fully, I shouldn't say suggests, I would say it confirms that their souls, everybody who's in there, is still in there in some capacity? Are they just kind of like trapped on autopilot? Like, are they just kind of watching what they're doing? And if so, my God, how horrible. Like, you're inside your body and you're having to watch your body commit atrocities, killing people that you possibly care for or know very well. And it's a very small town. So thinking about, because he has memories and he has inside info to pass along to her when he's kind of tripping out of it, and the Haldol brings him out and he's just like, you know, they're coming after you. Like, he has intimate knowledge. Yes, he's getting flashes in the moment, but it's too quick for him to have that much knowledge that he has. So he seems to be able to have firsthand experience. So everyone who's dead, everyone who's part of this group that has been taken over, that was killed, is in there still, and just having to watch these actions and what they're doing and all that stuff. Oh my God. Talk about hell. You want to talk about hell, especially with what these guys are doing, you know, murdering people. And as I said, loved ones or people you know well, or at least semi-well from living in a small town. That's just awful. That's just such an awful thought. I mean, there's losing your mind, and then there's losing complete control of your body and still having your sanity. Because, like, when you lose your mind, I would assume most of the time you're not fully aware of what you're doing. So you're almost absolved of it mentally. Not all the time. I know that there's some that still have remorse and whatnot, but I would think at least there's some lessening. But as someone who is being possessed and they can't control their actions, they just have to sit there fully aware and being yelling inside like, no, don't kill them. I don't want them hurt. I'd protect them. I love them, whatever. Awful stuff. Just to see Chris kind of come out of that. And he's like, obviously in love with Nadia, and he very much cares for her, and he just tried to kill her. I mean, he has to deal with that in his mind. Like, my body did that. Maybe I wasn't responsible, but I still had to watch it, and it is my body, and that's how she sees it. Like, I betrayed her. This is what's going through her mind. Just awful stuff. When I think about that stuff, I've seen it in other movies, and it's just like, oh, that's like the worst of the worst, man. But, of course, it's not realistic, but still, from a fantasy perspective, from a fictional perspective, it is one of the, like, worst punishments that someone could be, party to. So anyway, all right, moving on from that. I spoke about that for way too long, but still it just scares the shit out of me. So there you go. And Annie hears the voice of her dead mother telling her to kill Joy because that's the only way that she can be free and that they can be happy, or at least, you know, free of that life, of that torture, of that misery. Haha, misery. And this clearly is not the first time. Obviously, this has stayed with her from when her mother tried to kill her in the car by drowning them. She came out, she was mentally unstable, and she was receiving, at least what we could see in that clip, it looked like she was also receiving that same message from her mother to kill Joy when she was still a baby. And she rejected the notion, saved her and took her away. And yet again, her love for Joy seems to be able to make her be rational to an extent. Rational for love. And so you've got Joy in here, and she's looking for her. She'll do anything for her. She'll kill anybody. I mean, the kills that happen, that one where she smashes that guy's head in, which I want to say, wasn't that the same guy who had his head smashed in before? Poor dude's head. It might not have been, but I swear that's the muscle guy, right? That's like not like you know, bodybuilder muscle, but he's the muscle for Abdi, right? That's the guy he sent us over to the Marston house, and then he gets smashed in the head. Am I incorrect on that? I could be, but regardless, doesn't matter. I just thought it was funny if that is the same guy who got his head bashed in before. That being said, the brutality, man. His head is caved in, smack. Awesome stuff. Great stuff there. Good to see. And then the throat slash is pretty brutal too, because she takes like a broken knife and just slashes it like 3 different ways. So it's got like cuts kind of going everywhere, and she's like bleeding out profusely. It's a good kill scene. This show doesn't really have a lot of graphic violence or whatnot, but it does kind of deliver when it does. You know, with the ice cream scoop down the throat. Holy shit, man. I still remember that. That was just shockingly brutal because it was so out of nowhere, and you just don't see kills like that ever. So it was really good. And this one was really good as well. And then I did find it kind of odd that Nadia has Chris, and while Chris is kind of coming back to his possessed self, the dude yells out like, "I'm in here," and he's like screaming, and it's a completely quiet, completely dead hospital. Like no one in there, power's out, no sound, they don't hear him. But then she's like taking him down the hall, and they like knock something, and they're like, and then they can hear his muffled screaming, like when he has the gauze over his mouth or whatever, and he's like, and they're like, "Oh, I hear him now." You didn't hear him screaming at the top of his lungs, and Nadia basically yelling back at him, "Shut the fuck up," as she's trying to, silence him, gag him. That seemed extremely unbelievable. Definitely wondering where the hell Pops is. I'm very much curious what he's completely void from this episode. So he's off somewhere, gathering himself, composing himself to fight back against this. So we'll see him soon, probably maybe next episode. But yeah. Anyway, so and then and then Chris has to die, which is kind of a bummer. But at the same time, he's like, "I'm already gone. Like, there was no coming back for me. You can't keep me drugged up at all times. My body would eventually die. So there is no getting this out of me, at least to his knowledge, at least to our knowledge. There isn't any cure for this. Although, will there be? Will there be a cure for this? Will she be able to say, is everyone who's dead and gone? And once this spell is, will they have to kill every one of those people? Is there a spell to be broken? And once the spell's broken, those people's bodies were dead. Will they revert back to their dead state? Like all their rejuvenation will kind of reverse? Or will they get to kind of have a second life, a second chance? They get their lives back. Their bodies are fully intact and healed, and they still seem to be in there. So if this, spell or curse or whatever you want to call it is broken, will they get their bodies back, or will they die? It's a good question. I don't know. I guess we shall see, obviously. And then Joy and Annie are trying to escape, and Joy is taken by the sight of the statue and is heading towards it. And we know that Ace now is convinced that Joy might actually be the vessel for the prophet, which actually has kind of got to be a little bit of a bummer for him. I mean, this is like a 16-year-old girl. This is supposed to be his wife, right? Like, this is the vessel for who's going to be his wife. It's like, yeah, I don't want her to be 16. I mean, yeah, we can wait a few years and she'll at least be of age or something. But I'd much rather it be Lizzie Kaplan. I'd much rather be Annie. She's not going to have her mental illnesses anymore. She's a fucking gorgeous woman, and she's like 30 something. So she's like the perfect, like, of the town that I've seen. It's like, that's the girl you want to be your wife, since you kind of get to shop. Although he thinks that there is a prophecy and that is the person it has to be. So to him, he doesn't really care. I was just laughing about it when I saw it. I was like, oh, I don't want Joy. Like, no. She's not the vessel. She's not my wife. Now, Rita, on the other hand, that's who we should be looking at as the other vessel, because she's gorgeous, and she birthed Joy. Maybe when they find out, I still think Rita's going to be the vessel. I could be wrong. We'll see. But they showed her get killed again in the opening, and I mean, I know that just kind of puts it in the mindset of where Joy is and her guilt of the situation and whatnot. But I'm not sure we're done with Rita. I could see her coming back as the vessel, but I think it'd be a cool showdown, you know. But we'll see. Anyways, did not expect this to be this long. This is almost as long as the fucking episode. So there you go. But a great episode. Definitely heading towards a lot of interesting stuff here. So let's talk about it down below. Adios.